We have Alex Knickerbocker in the house. Some of you may remember him from our videos all about microphones. He works on big movies and stuff, but isn't technically allowed to talk about a lot of stuff, right?
It's sort of a secretive thing.
The bigger the projects get, the more secretive it gets in the film industry, including movies and commercials and all that stuff. But you've got an IMDb, so that's public.
There is that.
So if you want to do some cyber stalking, go check him out. I know I invited you here saying that I wanted to do some audio editing on vocals, but the truth is I want to get a nice fart recording.
It would mean the world to me if you could record one of Jean's farts and make it into my ringtone.
So we have set up a microphone here, and this is the fart catcher. So hopefully at some point during this recording, I'll be able to get a nice little fart recording for your ringtone.
I hope you don't do a giveaway with this one.
The number of fart recordings that I have done is insane.
Wait, have you really recorded a lot of farts before?
This is not a new experience for me. I would not like to talk about it.
If we record a fart, we can sell it as a ringtone. Is there a store for ringtones anymore? Is that still a thing? That used to be a thing.
I think it's all free now. You just download them.
Oh, okay. I was hoping we could sell our farts as ringtones and we could split the profits, maybe buy a yacht. Since I don't have any farts right now, I guess we can just talk about fixing dialogue or voices. Most of the time, if you're working on a professional project, you want to record as best as you can, and then you hand it off to people like you, right? And then you guys just magically make it sound all nice and cinematic, and then you return it to us as one nice file, and that's what we put in.
Yeah, we have a knob that's just like the better knob, and we turn the better knob up until it's better, and then we just give it back.
Amazon affiliate link to the better knob.
The better knob.
So I am Premiere based, so I would love to be able to do some simple tweaks. I know I'm not going to be able to get perfect audio with my simple setups, because I know like your studio is set up with some crazy stuff.
You can still make some pretty good improvements with just built-in tools. And the three that I've talked about on my channel are EQ, compression, and de-essing.
Okay, cool. So step one, let's start off by talking about EQ. What is EQ?
More or less, in comparison to something like video footage, you can think of it as color grading. It's taking the frequencies that you've recorded and shaping them so that they sound more pleasing to the ear, getting out bad frequencies that sound harsh, or kind of emphasizing certain spots in the frequency spectrum that you want to accentuate.
So essentially, it's taking your voice, and then you can maybe amplify the deeper frequencies, make me sound really tough and scary, or you can make it, what do you call it, lighter or brighter?
Brighter. Basically, it's trying to shape your sound to be more pleasing. Like this microphone, the SM7B, for example, is a pretty dark sounding microphone. That can sound really bass heavy and nice and like radio voicey, but you don't get a lot of top end, which is sort of pleasing to the ear. And you can use an EQ to correct for that, control the low frequencies a little bit and boost those high frequencies back so that the ordinary response of this microphone, you're going to get something more pleasing just by using an EQ.
So if you happen to be mixing different microphones, I'm assuming it also helps to kind of match how they sound, right?
Yes, and that's a huge part of dialogue mixing in feature film, television, etc., is trying to get all of the various different takes that they've shot over the course of the show to match within each other so it doesn't pull you out of the experience by going, ooh, that dialogue line didn't sound right.
Yeah, because boom mics sound completely different from lavaliers, but you guys work some magic on it.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. We're seeing a lot less of the boom mic being used on a lot of different shows, and people are relying more on lavaliers because we have the capability to do so. The recorders that we've got now have much higher channel counts. We have the ability to run wires on everybody in a much better way than we used to, 40 years ago. So the boom mic isn't as heavily relied on as it used to be, which can be kind of a problem. Lav mics sound very close and present, is boxy, and it sounds a little less pleasing to the ear right off the bat.
I'm actually surprised to hear that. I had no idea that they're starting to use less of the boom mic. I was always told that the boom mic was like primary and then lavs are more backup, but you're saying that people are using lavs more.
The pattern seems to be that lavs are being relied on a lot more heavily. And that's not to say that the boom mic is going away. We always want to rely on the boom. That's the sound that you want to hear, but supplementing that, lavs are being used a lot more readily.
Now we are going to be using just basic tools, so we're going to be using headphones, which isn't ideal, but I imagine it's a step above laptop speakers.
Well, laptop speakers are probably the most egregious place you could edit any audio ever. So yes, headphones are a step up. Ideally, you want to be pushing a little bit of actual air. That's why you have studio monitors. That's why you want to mix in a space rather than on headphones that give you kind of an illusion of what sounds really sound like.
All right, so we have Premiere opened up here, and we are gonna go to our audio workspace here. And I've got this microphone plugged in. It's ready to record farts, but for now, let me just do a little bit of dialogue. Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now. This is me talking blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I found the little chunk of audio that we can edit. But one of the first things to do is set the in and out points like I just did in the section that you're gonna be editing, and then hitting this thing, which is loop playback. If you don't see this on your Premiere timeline, you can hit that plus mark and you can find it in here. Now it's gonna constantly loop that section of my voice, which is gonna help a lot. You'll see why in a second. All right, so we got parametric equalizer, which we are gonna drop into that clip, and we are gonna go in and edit it. All right, so what we're looking at here is basically my voice analyzed, right? So on the left is my lower tones, like the deeper, bassier sounds, and then up top is kind of like the high-pitched noises and stuff. So that's what we're looking at. Now, I think by default, the gain scale comes at 96 dB. So every time you do a little tiny move, it's gonna change a lot. I would probably switch that to 30, see how it looks a lot bigger so you can make a lot more of those smaller, minute changes.
Yeah, and if you notice, you were immediately clipping your outputs as soon as you moved even slightly on 96.
Exactly.
So using a little bit lower gain scale, you're gonna be able to make finer edits, and it's gonna sound better as a result. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is, there's a lot of low-end energy here that we don't really need. And I'm gonna engage the high pass filter to get some of that out. It's not giving us any real speech information, it's just a lot of bass energy. So I'm gonna cut this around about where I can see the fundamental frequency of Gene's voice start. This is preserving all of the natural voice that he's got up there, and it's rolling off all this unnatural kind of buildup that we don't need.
Got it. So high pass cuts out the low end stuff.
Yes, it allows higher frequencies to pass through it.
So I assume a low pass allows low end energy to come through and then cuts off the high end.
Correct. So if I engage the low pass, you can see it cuts off the frequencies above wherever I set it. So we don't need to use this in this case necessarily, but I'm going to engage it just to show you that it's there. So let me take a listen to this real quick and figure out what the things that need to be fixed are.
Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now.
I'm hearing a little bit of boxiness, and I'm hearing a little bit of kind of sharpness in the higher mid frequencies. It's a little bit irritating to my ears. So I'm gonna try and correct those just a little bit.
How dare you call my voice irritating?
All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is try and correct for a little bit of that upper mid harshness. And I'm gonna do that by raising the EQ around where I think those frequencies live. Now, these frequencies right here sound a little irritating to me when I boost them up.
Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now.
And I'm gonna take those down, and immediately you can tell that that's a little bit easier to listen to.
Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now.
And it reveals that boxiness that I was talking about in the low mids. It sounds like you're kind of talking like this a little bit. There's that boxiness right in about there.
Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now.
So I'm gonna lower that.
Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now.
That sounds a lot better to my ears. It's a little bit more clear, it's less harsh. You can kind of hear everything that's being said a lot better, and it doesn't have any of those irritating frequencies from before. Now, the other thing is these microphones don't have as much top end as I'd like them to. They're a little bit dark sounding. So I'm going to boost the top end of Gene's voice a little bit to sweeten it, make it sound a little bit more exciting to listen to. So we'll do that with our high shelf, which you can see is opening up the top end.
This is what my voice sounds like right now.
That's a little bit too far. There we go. On these headphones, this sounds a little bit better to me.
Some of the stuff might not even sound that different, but if you have better studio monitors or better speakers, you're more likely to recognize the difference. Definitely suggest throwing on headphones, at least. Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now. This is me talking blah, 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 blah. Okay, so this is what my voice sounds like right now. This is me talking blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's interesting. So basically the main steps you did in this audio was to find two sets of frequencies that was a little bit annoying, right? And it's interesting how you found those. You actually find the frequencies by raising it up to find it. And then once you hear it a lot, then you just drop it down right there.
The harshest frequencies that you want to get out will resonate a little bit, and you can kind of hear them overload, and it sounds really significantly unpleasant compared to a lot of the other frequencies that you'd boost. And once you find those spots, you can kind of tuck them a little bit, and not too much, but when you tuck them a little bit, it makes the voice sound a little bit more natural. So by doing that, you end up with a much cleaner, more listenable sound, and you can listen to you talk here for the next 4 hours and not get fatigued. Whereas with your unclean, raw vocals, it'd give you about 20 minutes before you're like, this sucks. I don't want to hear this guy.
I have actually gotten that comment before. I feel fatigued after listening to a couple of your videos.
Yeah, you are an exhausting human being.
Now, whenever I record audio from just, the microphone built into here, it comes out very, I guess, bright is what you would call it. So in that case, you'd probably kind of do the reverse, right? You would kind of bring down the high ends and just bring up a little bit more of that core lower ends.
Exactly. It depends on what you're working with, and that's going to dictate what you do with the EQ after the fact.
We always turn off the air conditioning whenever we record for sound reasons, but if I leave the air conditioning on, can we just pull it out with the EQ?
You can absolutely help air conditioning with EQ. It's a lot of low frequency information, so you can roll that off like we just did, and you can find the frequency that the air conditioner resonates at, and you can use the same technique to pull that down too.
So can I just turn on my air conditioning right now then?
No.
Oh. I mean, I guess you can never pull it out completely, right? It's always just best to get clean audio. Rule number 1.
Exactly.
There's a lot more to EQ than what we're going over here. I mean, this is very basic stuff, but if you want to do the deeper dive into EQ, compression, or DS, or any of that stuff, hit right there in your block. Well, it's right above Alex's head right now. There's the link right there. Don't go too low. That's inappropriate. Then next we're about to go into compression, right? Which is very useful because sometimes I talk really loud and then sometimes I'll talk really, really quiet.
And compression allows you to kind of squeeze those into about the same level so that you're not having huge volume jumps, having to turn stuff up or down, or, getting scared by how close you are to the microphone and then not being able to hear you a second later.
It's going to avoid some parts sounding too loud, some parts sounding too quiet.
Precisely!
So we're going to record a new piece of audio here. We're going to pull in this fart mic. No farts yet. So I'm going to start off by, being really calm and chillaxed and all that. And get really, really excited really fast. And there.
So you can see, looking at the meters here, that we're peaking at about -6. And then it dips back down to almost -24, -30. So this is a very dynamic recording, and we can tighten up those dynamics a little bit and make it a little bit more consistent using this compressor. So we've opened up our dynamics plugin here. You can see that there's an auto gate section. That basically just takes really quiet sounds and silences them. You don't really want that for this. The expander does something similar. It doesn't completely silence sounds that are quiet. It just sort of makes them even quieter. We don't really want to mess with either of those for this application because that's going to sound unnatural. So the compressor, we've got to engage that first. So we have a few different parameters on our compressor. You can see there's threshold, ratio, attack, release, and makeup. Let me go through that real quick. The threshold is basically just an invisible line that you're drawing in your audio levels, and you're saying, I'm going to set my threshold arbitrarily here. Any audio that's down beneath, don't bother working on, it's totally fine. Any audio that crosses, you want to reduce that by the amount you set with your ratio. Ratio is kind of like division. It's just saying, hey, for a ratio of 2, anything that crosses your threshold, divide it by 2. Anything with a ratio of 3, divide it by 3. So if you have 3 dB of gain above your threshold, that ratio set to 3 will spit out 1 dB after the fact, if that makes sense. Your attack is how fast the compressor responds to audio that crosses that threshold. So if you've got a fast attack, like 1 millisecond, anything that crosses is just going to be slapped down immediately. If you have a slower threshold, like bringing this all the way up to, say, 10 milliseconds, that's not a very slow attack. So again, limitations of the tools. A slower attack, that audio crossed that threshold, and the compressor will be slower to respond. That's really good for keeping things like consonants intact if you want them to cut through a little bit more. Release works in the same way. It's how fast the compressor stops working on audio. So a fast release, it'll just immediately let go, and you'll have your audio kind of pump a little bit. And if you have a slower release, it'll very, very gradually let things go. You can kind of get more natural sounding compression with a slower release in some cases. And the last thing is makeup gain. So think about how compression works. You're setting a place that says, hey, anything over this level, you want to bring it down. Naturally, that's going to make your audio quieter. So makeup gain allows you to boost the overall level after the fact, and it'll keep its dynamic range that you've just set while retaining the level so that you don't have this suddenly really quiet sound after you've done all this work. So let's mess with these settings and see what we can come up with. I'm going to set our ratio at about 2, maybe 3, and that's about as natural sounding as a compressor is going to be on Dialog. You can use it way more harshly or softly, and you kind of want to listen to how it responds because it can get really out of hand really quickly. But for Dialog, generally you don't want to use a ratio over 3. So I'm going to adjust my threshold so that I'm not seeing quite as much gain reduction. And you can see it's about 6 dB of gain reduction. I want maybe about 4 to 6 dB of gain reduction maximum. Again, that's going to sound the most natural. And I'm going to slow down the attack a little bit so that we preserve all the consonants. And I'm going to slow down the release just a little bit. Now I'm going to use this makeup gain to boost our levels back up to something that's about where we want it at the end of the day.
So I'm going to start off by, being really calm and chillaxed and all that, and get really, really excited really fast and there. So I'm going to start off by, being really calm and chillaxed and all that, and get really, really excited really fast and there. So I'm going to start off by, being really calm and chillaxed and all that, and get really, really excited really fast and there. For YouTube, what would you recommend your audio levels to peak out at?
Well, YouTube is kind of the Wild West, and they work with more average levels. There's a lot of math behind this. It's a whole actual debate in the audio community how to address YouTube audio levels. But generally for vlogging, the idea is you don't want to clip your audio, and YouTube actually normalizes sound down to about -14 dB LKFS, which is, again, whole other spec, whole other math, it's a whole thing. Generally, if your audio is above a certain average level, YouTube will dial it back so that there's a set maximum.
That's actually pretty cool. That way you're not just like browsing through YouTube and some videos are really loud and some videos are really quiet. So as long as a majority of your videos a pretty even level, which should happen after you run it through this compressor, then you should be okay.
Right. And again, there's a lot that goes into how to deliver audio at what level and why. All these networks have different specifications for their audio between, Discovery Channel versus Disney versus Netflix versus, whatever. You have all these different necessities for audio levels that can be kind of confusing. So that's a whole other more deep dive video.
Okay, yeah. So I generally set mine to try to max out right around -6.
I think that's a good habit to get into. You just don't want to go above 0 because then you're distorting your audio and that's going to sound bad no matter what you do. What you can do as a last little check here is engage the limiter, and the limiter is simply going to keep your audio from clipping ever. Threshold works exactly the same as a compressor, but instead of kind of reducing the levels that go above that threshold by a certain amount, this just hard brick walls, nothing gets past it. So it can sound really unnatural if you're not careful. I use this as just sort of a catch-all to make sure audio doesn't clip ever.
Right, just in case there's one loud like pop, then it'll just keep that down from going too crazy.
Yep. So that's our compression, and again, engaging that limiter is just going to kind of keep things in check. The last step that you may or may not want to use, depending, is de-essing. The de-esser is actually just another compressor, but it's targeting sibilant frequencies. So things like S's or clicks and pops and stuff that's really harsh and irritating. If I sit here and go, you can see all these frequencies are kind of building up in the top end of the frequency spectrum. The de-esser targets those and lowers them while leaving everything else alone. So I'm going to record some S's and just focus on those. These mics actually don't pick them up as well, so that's kind of working for us in the first place. But if I sit here and go and then talk normally, now I can output sibilants only, and that's going to allow me to listen to what the de-esser is actually trying to work on. And then talk normally. There's a lot of high frequency buildup that I can address simply by moving my center frequency and then adjusting the bandwidth of the de-esser. And that's going to show me exactly where my de-essing is going to start and how wide the bandwidth of my de-essing is going to be. Listening to my sibilants only and then watching my gain reduction, you can see this is reducing all of that crazy top end by almost 12 dB because it's so intense. And then talk normally. And then talk normally. Much cleaner, much more listenable on headphones. It doesn't hurt nearly as much. And again, that's just compressing that very, very top end of my voice when sibilance is happening. So you can listen to your voice for hours and not feel fatigued afterwards instead of getting through 20 minutes of a podcast or 5 minutes of a YouTube video and going, why does this sucks so much?
Wow, now you guys could watch me for hours straight and you can't use fatigue as your excuse anymore. I'm still probably fatiguing to watch.
Yeah.
I'm not fatiguing to hang out with though, right? Like
No,
in
not at all,
person
no.
whenever we hang out?
No, this is totally fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Why are you responding so fast?
Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Why do you gotta ask questions like that?
All right, so there you go. Some basic things that you can do with Premiere and basic tools. Be sure to check out Alex's channel for a nice deep dive on all these tools and all things audio related. There's Alex's channel. This video here, recording massive aircrafts and vehicles for film. That is some dope audio recording. Like what is, look at this. If you haven't subscribed to Alex yet, this is the kind of goodness that you're missing out on. You know, you can watch his beard for hours.
Flying around on V-22 Ospreys with the Marine Corps, that was intense.
You won't believe how much they go through to get good audio. You just go, hey, let's go fly all these crazy helicopters and planes so I could record a sound effect. Oh, okay, hold on. I think I finally have one. Oh man, that was so little. I'm disappointed in myself. I always have a really good one right when I wake up in the morning, so I think I just need to take this recorder into my bedroom and just as soon as I wake up, I hit record and I think that'll be it. But yeah, Alex is at 9,600 subscribers. Let's get him to 10,000 today. Let's do it, go, right now. Head on over. Anyways, let's close this off by reading a few comments from my last video, which was all about lighting and how much light exactly do you really need to get good quality video. Great content as always. I challenge you not to say airy once in your video. Well, I made it this far and now you just made me say it, so this was a trap. At 124, the flip gets switched, or was it supposed to be the switch gets flipped? The flip gets switched. That's a good catch. Nothing gets past you guys. Like, I usually watch these videos over and over right before I publish it just to make sure I didn't make any mistakes and stuff. That one totally did not even realize it. This feels like a bit of a physics lesson from Dr. Potato Jet on light intensity. That's a great name for a doctor, right? Dr. Potato Jet. Potato Jet is so lit in this video, he is now a baked potato.